Hello, everybody. I have like 45 minutes. I went to get my medicine this morning, and very last thing that I had was defective, which meant I was out. So I had to go get more. And then there was a huge accident on the road that goes to my house, so I didn't move for like forever. So I should have been home like a half hour ago and doing this, but here we are. Let's get going because I do not have a lot of time. First thing, an overview of today. Weather is going to be significant. There's a bunch of rain in the Northeast. It would possibly affect every single game in the Northeast, meaning the Yankees game, the Phillies game, and the Red Sox game. I don't believe, living in the Northeast and experiencing the rain right now, that it's going to be heavy enough not to play in. Like you don't... it's not super safe, but like you don't even have to use your windshield wipers when you're driving at this point. Like you should, but it's not like you wouldn't be able to see, right? You'd still be able to like drive wherever you wanted to. It would just be less safe. So, the rain isn't super heavy. If you could drive through it, I think you should be able to play baseball through it. So I would expect all of these games to play fully without any problem through the rain. If delays, it'll be short, but I really don't expect any problems. That being said, as is always the case with weather, pay attention because it's certainly possible that they, postpone one of these or what have you. So, if the weather situation worsens, it could, if thunderstorms work their way in or heavier rains work their way in, we could be dealing with in-game delays, which would make the starting pitching a lot worse. But that's a bridge that we will cross when we come to it. As of right now, let's take a look at what we have here and what I think are the best plays of the day. One thing of note, if you haven't checked it out, bathrobesports.com /member-projections is free today and probably tomorrow before it goes back to members only. I am extremely proud of the projections that I made. I factored in a whole bunch of stuff that I don't see factored in, including splits and including recent form. So, I think the projections are more on point, and you can tell because, everybody's not between like 6 and 11 every day. There are people who get 2s and people who get 21s, depending on the condition. And while, I don't think it's, that David Dahl is definitely going to get 21 DKP today, I certainly don't think it's crazy for him to do so. And I certainly do think it's crazy that I've like never seen a projection system go over 14 DKP, which means like at best a projection system is saying like a dude's going to get a home run with nobody on base and that's it. And that's a ludicrous thing. Like obviously you can't predict it, but you can predict, relative success in terms of, different metrics and then, pull all of that stuff out with the math. So I've done that. I think that the projections are good right now. They are still a work in progress. I still have more stuff to add and more math to do, but they are good and I like them. And, I'm proud. I'm proud of what they are so far, given my lack of knowledge in Excel and how to do all that stuff. I know math, but so anyway, let's get down to it. We have the first game, Mets and Yankees at Yankees. So the Mets are the away team and get 9 players at bat and no pitcher batting, which is a pretty nice boost to the Mets. Still, they're projected to lose by, a 1.7 runs today, 5.6 to 3.9. So this should be a really, really bad game for the Mets. The weather conditions with the light rain that they'll be playing through, it'll be cool and the wind will be blowing in at 10 miles an hour. This is a huge boost to the pitchers here. So while I'm not going to play Jason Vargas against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium, Masahiro Tanaka, who's a bit more of a wild card if you've watched my videos or read my articles before, Tanaka at only 7,900 is incredibly intriguing. I don't think he's my favorite pitching option of the day, but I certainly would call him the second best pitching option of the day, especially considering the price. The Mets are a good team. They are an underrated offense. I've said it many, many times. A few of those bats are swinging real hot right now. Frazier and Pete Alonso specifically. Dom Smith has looked really good. Conforto's been heating up. But again, Tanaka is someone who, if he has the stuff, he's unhittable by anybody. And these weather conditions are definitely going to be a net benefit for him. The 7,900 price tag, even more so. On FanDuel, 8,900. I don't think I would play him there as a one pitcher because there's other dudes I'd rather just pay up a little more for. But DraftKings 7,900. He's $300 more expensive than Jason Vargas on DraftKings, right? And he's 2,100 more expensive than Jason Vargas on FanDuel. So that just goes to show you that DraftKings has it wrong both ways. They have Vargas priced too high and they have Tanaka priced too low. So again, all over Tanaka today. On the other side, Vargas is one of the worst pitchers in baseball. He's been pretty crafty, and he gets a nice little boost with the weather here. But this is a murderous Yankees lineup. I don't want any part of Vargas today. I would find it hard to play even. Excuse me, even some of the aces for the Mets in Yankee Stadium against this Yankees team. And Vargas being significantly overpriced, there's absolutely no way that you could go anywhere near him. On the Yankees side, if you want to take the bats, load up. And I mean that. Let me go over some recent form with y'all. Oh, that is not the right one. Where is it? That is, there we go. That's the pitchers. Sorry, folks. I tried to run on here as fast as I could. Because of the accident and needing to get everything, so I don't have a few of my pages set up. So if we're looking over the last week, we have Gregorius, Hicks, Frazier, and LeMahieu, all with OPSs over 1,000 and WOBAs over 428 because LeMahieu is 429. Mabin is a 971 OPS with a 414 WOBA. So while his ISO is only 133, significantly less than the other people, all of these dudes are in really, really good shape. Sanchez, while he hasn't been hot or not lately, he still has an ISO of 217. So when he is hitting the ball, he is mashing it. So against Jason Vargas, who again is awful, while the weather conditions may not be the best, everything else lines up really, really nicely for these Yankees. So I would definitely, and man, that hurts to say as a Mets fan, a diehard Mets fan especially, but I would definitely load up on Yankees bats today. On top of that, as I've often discussed, what we see a lot of times when there's uncertainty about the weather is deflated ownerships. So Tanaka and the Yankees may be pretty highly owned, but the ownership that they would have if it was a clear day and 80 degrees is significantly less. So you are going to be able to, on a smaller slate, get Tanaka and the Yankees bats, both of which are in fantastic spots, especially considering the pricing for all of them. You get all of them at a price discount and at an ownership discount because, again, people try to stay away from the uncertainty, even if it is a slight bit of uncertainty that, for the most part isn't really going to affect them. So both of these dudes, Tanaka and the Yankees as a whole, load them up tonight. Next game up is the Diamondbacks and the Phillies. We have Taylor Clark here going against Jared Eichhoff. I want to get over to my projections here. Why is it doing my page? That looks weird. Sorry. Again, I have the lineups page up here, and I want to get the projections page up. Always double check that everything is up that day, right? Because I've hit not hit the publish button a couple of times. So we have Clark and Eichhoff, both of which are going to probably get shelled today. Neither of them project to get many points. I have Eichhoff at 9.05, Clark at 5.29, Tanaka at 13.19, and that's with him getting a win projected. So I I really like the bats here as well, and I think that you're going to get the same problem that you had, well, the same issue that you had with the Yankees bats with all of the bats in this game, which is that all of them are in great spots. I very strongly recommend all of them, but the ownership on all of them is going to be deflated because of the uncertainty with the rain. It looks like, it should be a steady, light rain the entire time. There are going to be little gaps in it. But for the most part, if they are going to play a game, they know that they're going to play it through the rain, right? So if they haven't announced that the game's going to be postponed, by 4 or 5 o'clock, then the MO that day is going to be play through light to moderate rain. So we're going to have, people avoiding a bunch of bats that are still in great spots against very bad pitchers. And here again, we have Taylor, Clark, and Eichhoff, who are not fantastic, who are projected to give up a whole bunch of runs, and who are not going to do very well today. So, while I wish that the lineups were out, as a couple other lineups are, these are two stacks that I would load up on. I still think the Yankees are a better stack at this point. And then I would rather have the Phillies than the Diamondbacks if we're rating them. But, Taylor, Clark, and Eichhoff are both very bad. The Diamondbacks are a very, very good team. And while people tend to avoid them outside of Chase Field, it's not like Citizens Bank Park in Philly is a pitcher's park. It is one of the smaller bandboxes that you have. So, when you have an Escobar, Peralta, Marte, Christian Walker, all hitting really well lately, you have the possibility of getting a really good stack at again, less ownership than it should be. Because again, while the ownership's going to be deflated due to the rain, it's also going to be deflated due to the fact that people are going to see a higher total for the Yankees and Phillies and prioritize them without, understanding that also means that the ownership's going to go that way, because most people do that, and ignoring the fact that the Diamondbacks have some really, really good bats, and Eichhoff has been not so great lately. So, while again, if you're just talking who I think is going to score the most runs and who I think is in the best spots, so far it's Yankees, then Phillies, then Diamondbacks. But if you're going to get sneakier or play some GPP, definitely nothing wrong with getting some Diamondbacks there. I think, if you look at the Yankees pricing and then look at the Diamondbacks pricing, it looks like the Diamondbacks lineup just came out as I was talking because it changed significantly. Everything moved around. So I'm going to assume that is the new lineup, and that is official, which is Dyson, Marte, Peralta, Jones, Escobar. So Marte and Escobar flipped. Walker, Avila instead of Kelly, that's a downgrade to the Diamondbacks and an upgrade to Eichhoff. And Edelmiro Vargas, there we go, officially confirmed. Edelmiro Vargas is going to be batting for Ahmed, and that I would say is a slight upgrade. So now we get we get a top of the lineup for the Diamondbacks that looks even better because now Escobar, the only person over 5,000, got moved down to the 5 hole. So you have Dyson 4,700, Marte 4,700, Peralta 4,600. All of them get a wonderful matchup against the extreme normal splits Eichhoff, meaning he's much, much worse against lefties. Dyson, Marte, and Peralta will all be batting lefty. And then you have Adam Jones and Eduardo Escobar, 4,400 and 5,300. Really like Escobar, even though he's 5,300. And then Edelmiro Vargas, 3,500, dual position eligibility, second base and third base, also going to be batting lefty and is a switch hitter. So yeah, I really do like that a lot. I would not have Eichhoff today. And again, normally in weather conditions like this, I like to give the bats a little bit of an extra boost. I like to give the pitchers a little bit of an extra boost. You can see how the rain and the weather and everything really does affect it. But it's just bad pitchers. Some things don't, some things, it doesn't matter. If you throw a really bad pitcher against a AAA lineup, that AAA lineup is still going to mash the shit out of it. That's the way it works. So some things cannot be made up for. And I would say that, the skill of Clark and the recent form of Eichhoff are two of those things. So that's good. We got that lineup in while I was talking about it. On the other side, we have a Phillies team that is far, far too cheap here. Hernandez leading off 3,600, Harper 4,400, Segura 4,000, Rhys Hoskins, who is an extreme reverse splits guy, meaning he's a righty that hits righties better, is only 4,200. Real Muto, one of the best catching options every day, 4,300. And then you have Jay Bruce, who is on fire, 5,500. And I can understand paying that. But again, that's a 1 through 6 that is projected to get more than 5 runs, is going to have deflated ownership because of the Yankees and because of the weather. And I think that you're doing yourself a disservice by ignoring them, especially, again, in this ballpark that is still going to give up runs no matter what. All right, let's move on. We have the A's and the Rays. That is a fun rhyme. For the A's, we have Tanner Anderson, who's getting called up, and for the Rays, we have Charlie Morton. Charlie Morton, by all accounts, is my favorite pitcher. He projected the best. He projected for the best value, and he's just far too underpriced on DraftKings at 9,900. He is going to be able to dominate this Oakland A's team. They are better against lefties, but they're going to have a lot of problem with someone with the repertoire that Morton has. So I do not have the A's today, and I am, whatever the field is going to be on Morton, I'm going to have over it because, oh boy, do I like Morton today. Again, favorite pitcher running away. Tanaka would be number 2 at this point. And then Tanner Anderson, I had the stats up for him. Let's see if I still do. I might have closed that window. Tanner Anderson is getting the call up, and he is not a good pitcher. That is one of the things we need to understand. So just because you're getting a spot start from AAA to the major leagues doesn't mean that you're like a top prospect or that, you have the world in your hands. Tanner Anderson is not a good pitcher. And he was not a good pitcher in AAA, where the batters are significantly worse. He pitched 54.2 innings in AAA this season. He gave up a 6.26 ERA with a 1.70 WHIP. He got 37 strikeouts and 26 walks, which means a lot of walks and no strikeouts comparatively. You want to see, for 54 innings, you want to see 54 strikeouts. And as I've often said in the past, when you move up to the major leagues, we see almost 100% of the time the strikeouts per 9 go down and the walks per 9 go up. So someone who's already bad, pitching poorly, who doesn't strike out people and who walks people, that just is a absolute recipe for getting his ass handed to him. So the Rays at this point will take over the favorite stack of the day, and I really don't know if they're going to relinquish it until we get to Coors Field. So if you are not playing a Coors Field team today, I really, really do love the Rays. I can see the Nats. I can see, the White Sox, and we'll get to those later. But Anderson really should be that bad, and then they'll get to the bullpen, and then, it's all systems go against a poor long reliever on top of that. So mop-up duty guys aren't the best either. They are basically the Tanner Andersons of the bullpen. So we're going to have a nice game for the Rays and a nice bunch of offense scored. While Meadows is 5,400, he's still, he's someone who's 5,900 a couple of days ago and is worth that. So he's underpriced at 5,400. Pham, Lau, Garcia, Choi, all between 46,000 and 400. Yandy Diaz, 3,800. Kiermaier, 4,000. This is a confirmed lineup that we have for the Rays. So we have, a Rays team that is in a very good spot, that has really good people, really, really cheap on top of everything else. So if I am not playing a Coors Field stack today, and we'll see how that works because I really do want to play Charlie Morton, I am going to look at the Rays and trying to get as many of them in as possible. That should do it for that game. Next up is the Cardinals and the Marlins. We have Michael Wacha, against Sandy Alcantara. It looks like the Marlins lineup is out, and the only change they have is that Austin Dean, fresh off his home run yesterday, is leading off instead of Curtis Granderson, which is actually worse because we have Waka, who shows reverse splits, meaning he's going to be worse against an Austin Dean. And since Austin Dean doesn't have a sample size yet, or nearly enough of a sample size, I can't say that he's not better against righties. So we very well might have someone who at this point in his career is better against righties versus someone who's worse against righties, which means, even better for Dean, better for the Marlins stack as a whole. Not that I would ever recommend a Marlins stack, and worse for Waka. So I would imagine that Waka is going to be exceptionally popular today. And I think that is, sorry, I have an itch on my leg. I think that is a really bad move. Waka is not a great pitcher, and this is a Marlins team that is going to get 4.1 runs today, according to Vegas. A Marlins team that's normally projected to get about 3 is getting like a full run boost, and that's in Miami, which is the second best hitters park in baseball. There are a few things here that are, again, while there are better stacks today, if you want to go really sneaky and really cheap, I can definitely understand taking the Marlins, at least as a mini stack, for a couple of reasons. First, again, the pricing. They don't have a single person except for Garrett Cooper that's going to be priced over $4,000 on DraftKings. And again, Garrett Cooper is the only one priced over $3,000 on FanDuel. So you can load up on this game, load up on a team that's going to get more runs than they're priced for. And will have less ownership than they deserve, given how everything works out. Now, again, this is a terrible offense, but that doesn't mean they're not going to have games where they score 16 runs, because they just did that last week. So the other thing is the question of splits. I've talked about this before. Splits are additive, right? So if you have a pitcher that has reverse splits and is a righty, and a batter that has reverse splits and is a righty, that is significantly better for the batter. That is as good a matchup for the batter as you can find. A reverse splits righty batter is looking for reverse splits righty pitchers to hit against. That is going to be, given everything, their bread and butter. So we have Michael Waka, who is a reverse splits righty. And in this lineup, we have Austin Dean, who, again, we don't know about. We have Brian Anderson, who is a reverse splits righty. We have Harold Ramirez, who is a reverse splits righty. And we have Jorge Alfaro, who is an extreme reverse splits righty. So that is at least 3 people that you can take with confidence, knowing that they have one of the best matchups of the day in terms of righty on righty with the splits lining up. I would rather play a reverse splits righty against a reverse splits righty than an extreme normal righty against an extreme normal lefty. It really is that significant when it comes to reversing splits. It is a huge boost when something like that happens. So again, while I don't think it's the safest play, if you are going cheap, getting Dean for $3,000, Anderson for $3,900, Ramirez for $3,700, and Alfaro for $3,900, you could do a lot worse for the price and for the expectation than that. So while the field is going to be heavy on Waka because, it is the free square against the Marlins, today is one of those rare days that I am going to think about taking some Marlins bats. I really do. I really do want Morton, and if I go Morton and Tanaka, that is reason enough to get a couple of these Marlins there, and then see what other better bats I may be able to fit in, or more expensive bats, I should say, in the other better stacks that I like. On the other side, we have Sandy Alcantara, who has actually been in decent form lately. He's not someone that I absolutely love, and not someone that I'm going to recommend playing against the Cardinals. But if you look at the last 4 starts that Alcantara has had, 24.2 DKP against the Brewers, 14.7 against the Giants, 1.9 against the Nats, and then 43.5, his complete game shutout against the Mets. So he's someone who, is like a 23 or 24-year-old kid. I apologize for not remembering offhand, but he's someone who is a prospect. He's not someone that is an absolute nobody like a Tanner Anderson. He's someone who's just been called up too early because the Marlins really don't have any other choices. So it's possible that he's rounding it to form. I would rather play him at 6,900 than the Cardinals bats, but I consider both of those like GPP plays, or if I'm playing one lineup, basically stay away. I like Alcantara enough that I don't want to boost up the Cardinals bats to a point where I like them, given the other matchups. And I don't hate the Cardinals bats enough that I think Alcantara is worth taking the risk when there are other pitchers. Again, Tanaka 7,900 is 1,000 more than Alcantara. I don't see any justification given everything for not taking, a Tanaka over an Alcantara. Even if Alcantara does have, another 25-point DKP game, it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. Like I said, I'm not going to stay away from him in GPPs or if I'm building multiple lineups, just if I'm building one. Because, again, I like other people better, but not because I hate Alcantara. The Braves lineup has officially come out, and we have not gotten there yet, so I will not talk about that until I get there. Next up is the Rangers and the Red Sox. Again, this is another one with the weather. We have to pay attention because we should know, a couple hours before game time, whether or not they plan to just play through it, and they should be able to play through it. I don't think there's anything coming that would necessitate a long enough delay that you have to worry about pitching. Much less batting. So, take the pitchers at less ownership than you can get them. Take the batters at less ownership than you can get them. But that being said, we have the Rangers and the Red Sox. Looks like the total for this game went down half a run since last night, probably due to the weather and the fact that they're going to be playing through a light rain. And most of that total came off of the Red Sox. So they are now under 5 runs, but still 4.7. But I guess the issue is, Mike Minor has been pitching well this year. And with everything considering, I would, wow. You know what? Looking at those prices for the Red Sox, maybe not. You look at the Red Sox prices, if you haven't, and you expect, the White Sox lineup came out, that's later too. You expect the pricing to all be in the 5,000s because that's normally what it is when you have the Red Sox, especially at home, especially with the wind projected to blow out to left field at 10 miles an hour. We have Betts 4,500, Benintendi 4,000, Bogarts 4,500, Martinez 4,700. That is a lot of lefty mashing righties. And Benintendi, that is way too cheap. So, while I do like other spots better, that pricing is really fantastic for the upside that the Red Sox provide as a stack. And that's just like any other sport. Sometimes you look at it and see a price and say, I may not have been that high on that guy, in this case, stack. I may not have been that high on that guy, but he should be 2,000 more than that. Or in the case of the stack, every one of those batters should be 1,000 more than that. So when you can get that kind of savings and still maintain the upside, Mike Minor has been good this year, but if you look at the past, he's not that good. We are hoping that the Red Sox will live up to that upside at home without ownership. And Mike Minor will pitch like, 2018 and before Mike Minor and not 2019 Mike Minor. So if they were more expensive, I would say, I would avoid them except in GPPs, but at that pricing, they still maintain that upside. And I'm going to, if I'm playing multiple lineups, I'm going to have more Red Sox than I would have thought. I just had not looked at the pricing yet. On the other side, we have the Rangers, who are projected to score 2.8 runs against Chris Sale. That should tell you everything you need to know. Don't play the Rangers. I've talked about this multiple times. The Rangers are the embodiment of a 3 true outcomes offense. They walk and strike out and hit home runs, less so with Joey Gallo out, obviously. But still, that is the what they built their lineup around. That is what the GM wanted. So we have a lot of dudes that just strike out a lot, and the Rangers are one of the worst lineups in baseball against lefties. So all of that adds up, to Chris Sale being a fantastic play. Again, if you are looking for the 2 overall best plays today, it's going to be Chris Sale and Charlie Morton. I would not mind doing a Sale and Morton, getting some cheaper bats in there like the Marlins or whomever else you want. Maybe some cheaper Red Sox at the bottom of the order. Eduardo Nunez is only 3,100. Sandy Leon should be catching 2,600. Michael Chavez, who was hot as anything, has been cold as anything lately, but that's caused his price to come down from like 5,500 a week and a half ago to 3,800. So all you're looking for is for him to get hot, or for Mike Minor to leave a pitch over the plate, or him to get to the bullpen later on. So again, for the pricing, the upside stays the same. But if you can get Sale and Morton in there, beautiful. You're in a good spot today. Just know that you're probably going to be with the chalk. You know what? Maybe I should check that. I do like to tell you guys that in the videos. I do have roto grinders here, so while I'm at my computer, I might as well look it up, right? I mean, hey, I try to share that every day. Except it is not out yet. No, wow, it's late. Normally it's out like late morning. No information yet. So again, excuse me, I expect Sale, I expect Morton to be chalky. I expect both of them together to be relatively chalky, but I'd still like to play both. I really would. Let's move on. Next game up is the Pirates and the Braves. We have Musgrove, who is a bad pitcher, against Kevin Gausman, who is a bad pitcher, which means, again, this is a load up on bats scenario. I will make this very, very quick. These are, so I don't want to play these pitchers, right? And these stacks are way down the line. I would rather play the Yankees, the Rays, the Red Sox. I would rather play the Diamondbacks. I would rather play the Phillies. Give me the Nats, the White Sox, the Cubs, the Rockies. Yeah, there's not a lot of pitching today, huh? This is, I like the Pirates bats. I like the Braves bats, but they are so far down the line compared to all the other stacks that we have going today, that I'm just not, no thank you. The lineup, is official for the Braves, and it is the same lineup that they always play against righties: Acuna, Swanson, Freeman, Donaldson, Markakis, Riley, McCann, Albies, which means, again, we have a downgrade because Albies can't hit as a lefty. So that's better for Musgrove, worse for the Braves as a whole. And just, again, while I like the Braves, I don't like Musgrove. I don't like Gausman, and I would take some Pirates. Too many other better places. Too many way better places today. So let's just move on to two of those better places. We have the Nats and the White Sox. The Nats have Anibal Sanchez pitching, who has pitched better recently, but is still awful. And the White Sox, as far as I've seen, and I haven't seen this official, Odrisamer Despaigne is going to pitch, who I remember when he was a Marlins prospect. He got called up and pitched a few times. He had okay stuff, but not very good. So we have a wind blowing out 10 plus miles an hour. Oop, the A's lineup just came out. Ooh, I can talk about that. I will talk about that in a minute, because that is something I don't know who that is. I have to look that dude up. So we have the Nats, who actually have the second highest projected run total of the day, next to the Rockies. They're projected to get 5.9 runs today against Despaigne, and I have no problem taking them here. We see some underpriced dudes, we see some expensive dudes, and I can understand wanting to, if you're going to pay over $5,000 per, going to the Rockies instead. But I think that a lot of people are going to do that, or go slightly down and go to, a Red Sox or a Yankees. But you have a really good Nats team here, who is, capable of doing some real damage. Right now, without the DH especially, they can just keep going and going. Turner, Eaton, Rendon, Soto, Kendrick, Adams, Suzuki, Dozier, and Robles is what I have projected as the 1 through 9. And I don't really think any of those bats are something to sneeze at. We have Turner, Rendon, Soto, and Kendrick all priced over $5,000 on DraftKings, meaning you're going to have to take some discount pitching if you want to get there. Excuse me. But I can understand wanting to do that. If I am going to do discount pitching, though, I'd rather go with the Rockies in this matchup against Darvish. But that being said, I think that the Nats would be the second or third best stack of the day as far as I'm concerned. Again, I really like the Rays. I really love the Nats, but the Rockies against a Yu Darvish that can't find the plate this season is going to be number one. And then the White Sox, I'm going to put the White Sox in the same camp as the Diamondbacks here. They are a fantastic option today, and they are going to go completely overlooked. This is a team that you can get for cheap. And this is a team that is, again, projected to get 4.6 runs, which is a hell of a lot for a team like, again, confirmed lineup here for the White Sox. Garcia leading off 3,800. Moncada was down to 4,400. Abreu 4,200. And then we have McCann 38. Eloy Jimenez, who I want to play today, 3,300. Yonder Alonso 3,000. Anderson's down to 4,300. And then we have Yolmer Sanchez at 26 and Charlie Tilson at 2,900. You can get a full five stack here for 3,500 average for those guys, and they are going to get a ton of runs. Don't forget this one really, really significant fact. The Nationals are not only pitching Anibal Sanchez, who's one of the worst pitchers in the game, they also have the worst bullpen in baseball that gives up the most everything. So even if, Sanchez only, gets 4 or 5 innings of mediocre work, the White Sox are going to have a lot of time to go ham at way too cheap against an awful, awful bullpen. So yes, I think that I would like the White Sox better than the Diamondbacks, but I would still put them in the second tier of plays right now. Let's see. We have a couple lineups that have come out. So let's discuss those really quickly. Mets Yankees is still nothing. The Diamondbacks I already discussed came out officially. The Phillies lineup should be the same that it always is. Hernandez, Harper, Segura, Hoskins, Real Muto, Bruce, Kingery, Franco. Again, I love the Phillies. I love the Cardinals. Their lineups and the Braves, basically. Their lineups almost never change. So I can put in the confirmed or the projected, and I really don't have to worry that much. So that doesn't change any of my analysis. The Oakland A's, Semien, Chapman, Olsen, Davis, Piscotty, Grossman, Laureano, Profar, and then Bo Taylor, a lefty for 2,300 catching against Charlie Morton. Fegley is a good bat. I assume that Bo Taylor is not going to be one because I've never heard that name before. So yes, give me extra Morton now. Because that one bat is a downgrade, and I already liked him enough. So that is a downgrade to the A's as a whole, as much as the splits matchup might be better for the A's as a whole. Fegley is a decent bat, and Morton is a very, very good pitcher. So we have that. Then we have the Cardinals, Marlins, I talked about, and then the Rangers I did not talk about yet. The Rangers lineup also came out. We have that's actually better for Chris Sale. That is a better lineup for Chris Sale. Okay, so we have Sinshu Chu is out today, which again, even better for Chris Sale. We have Delino DeShields, who's going to be leading off. Delino DeShields is a very, very bad hitter. While he came off the DL in decent form, he was batting ninth. And he wasn't really batting ninth because they were being clever. He was batting ninth because he's pretty awful, right? So better for Chris Sale there. And then we have Danny Santana, who is a switch hitter batting second. Danny Santana is one of those switch hitters that is much better as a lefty and doesn't hit very well as a righty. He's going to be hitting as a righty against Chris Sale. So while the Rangers are trying to be clever, it's not going to work. Again, they're just not a team built to handle lefties, much less dominant lefties like Chris Sale. So again, DeShield, Santana, we have Andrus, then we have Pence and Mazzara flipping, which means that Chris Sale is more likely than not going to face Mazzara twice instead of Pence, which again, Mazzara being someone who's a lefty that hits lefties awfully, and Pence being a righty that hits lefties better, is a downgrade to the Rangers lineup as a whole and an upgrade to Chris Sale, even albeit a smaller one. Then we have Forsythe and, I keep having this agita. Asdrubal Cabrera, Driggy Cabrera, and Logan Forsythe swapped places, so they're 6 and 7. And then instead of Ronald Guzman, who's been in okay form, we have Ronette Odor, who's been in very bad form, batting 8th, who is again a lefty that can't really hit lefties. So we have, Delino DeShields, a righty that's a bad hitter, leading off. Danny Santana, a switch hitter that can't really hit as a righty, batting 2nd. Mazzara, a lefty that doesn't hit lefties, batting 4th. Odor, a lefty that doesn't really hit lefties, batting 8th. And then Jeff Mathis, a catcher that doesn't hit period, batting 9th. Yeah, Chris Sale, great play today. That confirmed lineup just pushed it over the edge. Really, Sale looks absolutely fantastic today. So it's 3:09. I have 2 games left to talk about, and then I need to be done by like 3:15, 3:20 at the latest, because that's when my wife goes to work. And then I have the boy. So the Cubs at the Rockies. Obviously, this is all the bats. Yu Darvish hasn't been able to find the plate. He's looked awful. And I just want all the Rockies bats here. I want Blackmon. I want Dahl. I want Murphy. I want McMahon for 4,200. Give me Walters at 3,600, which is the same price as Jorge Alfaro, who, again, I like. But, Tony Walters in Coors Field against Yu Darvish is probably a slightly better spot than Jorge Alfaro regardless. So if you're getting that stack in, get that stack in. This is going to be fantastic. Again, Yu Darvish is priced 6,200, and that is justified. The one thing I will note, and this is very significant, this is something I always look at, and I always implore you to look at, and one of the reasons I put this information on the lineups page, look at Yu Darvish's pitch selection. He throws a four-seam fastball 30% of the time. That's not affected by Coors Field. He throws a slider 27% of the time. That's minimally affected by Coors Field. He throws a cutter 22% of the time. That's minimally affected by Coors Field. So right now, that is 79% of his pitches already that he throws baseline are basically not affected at all by Coors Field. The last 3 pitches, the sinker, the changeup, and the curveball, are very affected by the environment in Coors Field, which means he might not be able to get to, his quaternary pitches, but he should be able to throw his first 3 without much effect. So I can understand taking a Darvish here as a deep GPP flyer, especially against a chalky Colorado Rockies lineup, but that is a very risky play. And you are hoping beyond hope that things go right for him. I, on the other hand, am going to stack up. One of the things, again, I think that it's crazy that people don't project people accurately. By the way, the pitchers that are going to get the most, according to my projections, are Charlie Morton, 25.42, and then Chris Sale, 23.38, and then Ryu, 22.05. Morton also provides the best value at 2.57 times value. Surprisingly, Sandy Alcantara, number 2 with 15.54. Not that that's fantastic, but for only 6,900, not something to ignore. So my Rockies projections are nuts. But if I factor everything in, including splits, including ballpark, including everything. So we have Blackmon, 18, Story, 17, Dahl, 20, Arenado, 16, Murphy, 17, McMahon, 12, Tapia, 12, Walters, 13. So that is a lot of points. Not a single person on this team is going to have a value under 2.7. So, while they might be expensive, I firmly expect them to be able to pay for that price and then some, especially, again, against a Yu Darvish who looks like he doesn't know where home plate is. As I've explained before, and this is also always worth noting, when a pitcher is wild, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're wild like outside the strike zone. It doesn't mean that the ball goes 20 feet over someone's head every time they throw it. It means that they don't know where the ball goes, which means that it has just as good a chance of going right over the middle of the plate where anybody on the Rockies is going to mash the shit out of it. Or a curveball is going to be left hanging a lot more than normal because it's Coors Field, and David Dahl is going to take it deep. Don't like Darvish today. On the other side, we have Herman Marquez. who is one of the pitchers that does have home and away splits, meaning he does show a noticeable downgrade when he is home, which means we can also take the Cubs bats here. I would expect them to not be as highly owned as the Rockies. I do not like the Cubs as much as I like the Rockies or the Rays or the Nats, but I do love them just the same. You can get Schwarber for only $4,500 in Coors Field, which is one of the steals of the day. But the absolute steal of the day, assuming that he is also playing, is Carlos Gonzalez, Cargo, who gets to go back into Coors Field, bat fifth, and is only $3,000. That is ludicrous. So even if you're not playing, just know he's going to be chalk. But even if you're not playing a Cub stack, try to get Cargo in there, because you're going to be able to fit whoever you want and still have a 3,000 priced masher going back into Coors Field. I don't believe in that revenge narrative thing, but I do believe that he's going to get a very warm greeting there. And the people there are going to give him a standing ovation. And that is going to, give him that boost. Getting cheers in an away ballpark that's been your home all the time is going to be really nice for him. So a lot to be taken here. So give me the Coors Field bats overall. Last up, I hear my wife walking around upstairs, which means I need to make this a little quicker. Ryu pitching for the Dodgers. He is the overwhelming favorite to be the Cy Young winner in the National League. He does not display the strikeout upside of a Sale or a Morton. So given similar pricing, I would rather have both of those other guys. But that's also going to decrease his ownership under those other guys. And if either of them blow up, Ryu is going to be in a good spot to at least give you, 20 plus DKP. Like I said, he's still projected to get 23 something or so in my projections. On the other side, we have Griffin Canning, who I would take if he were in the 7,000s, but 8,400 going against the Dodgers is just, the Dodgers can mash anybody. And I will be taking Dodgers bats here. Again, not as much as other stacks, but we have way too cheap. Bellinger has been about 6,000 every game. He's down to 5,100, and every single other one of these bats has been priced down just the same. So give me Bellinger. Give me the rest of these Dodgers. I don't like them as much as others, but there you go. Really quickly, the Pirates lineup came out. Newman, Reynolds, Marte, Bell, Moran. Then Polanco is playing. I think I had Dickerson getting in there and not Reynolds. So Reynolds is, that's okay. Dickerson's not playing. And then Young Ho Kong is playing instead of Frazier, which is worse because, oh no, that's better. Ooh, that's really good. Kung is an extreme reverse splits righty, and Gossman is a reverse splits righty. So as I explained earlier in the video, Young Ho Kong, 2,800 on DraftKings as an extreme reverse splits righty coming off a home run game. 2,800. That might be one of the value plays of the day with Cargo. I might have to pick him as the one-off. So that's that. So let's summarize this really quickly. Favorite pitcher of the day, Morton. Second favorite is Sale. Then I really like Tanaka third, given the price, and then Ryu is going to be fourth. There's not a lot of other pitchers I would take a chance on. If you are looking to extreme punt, or don't extreme punt, but go to Alcantara at 6,900. He's the only other one that I think is in a good enough spot. In terms of bats, we got the Rockies first, we got the Rays, and the Nats tied for second because I really do love them. We have the Yankees coming up third, the Red Sox, because of the price, coming up fourth, and the Cubs coming up fifth. Honorable mention does go to the Diamondbacks, the Phillies, the Pirates, the Braves, and the Dodgers. And the White Sox. Damn, that is a lot of bats. Yeah, what I would do today if I'm playing 150 is try to get as many iterations of those bats as you possibly can. And then that's it. All right. I love y'all. Thank y'all for being here and joining me, and I'll catch y'all later. Have a great day.